Twitch tells me my title is invalid. Wonder if it's D and D. Let's try that. Save changes. Okay. I think we're live. Hey, everyone.
Hi, folks.
If you're watching, I have to apologize. We had some technical difficulties. Rob wasn't able to hear us through his speakers, so we're going to work on that and try and get Rob back on another time. Go check out Rob's website, Three Line Studio Store. Check out the book. He shared his book with us. Let me show it here. There we go. The fourth category. And this book, really interesting. And, you know, he talks about how he and his brother and David and David's son were the first ones to play the demo with Dave Arneson. And they were just awestruck by the game, which is really cool. And I think Gary saw right away how big a game it was. And he tried, Gary was working as an editor for Guidon Games, I think, for Don K, I think, ran that. And Guidon passed on the game, Avalon Hill passed on the game, and Gary was like, for sure, we're doing this. And that's how TSR ended up getting started, because they knew they had something special with that game. So definitely want to get Rob back on. I want to talk all about the history of D&D, talk all about that information. And then he had some snippets in this book, which is the fourth category, which is like a preview of a book he's working on game design with regard to immersion that I really want to dig into. I think immersion, the more I think of it, the more pivotal and important I think it is in a game of D&D to really feel like you had a great time. And it's kind of missing. He had one quote in there, it was pretty funny. It was like, immersion isn't how many doors you knock down, but it's the sounds you hear through the doors before you knock them down and stuff like that. It wasn't exactly that. It's not exactly the quote, but it's like, it's not just a mechanical game. If it's just a mechanical game, it might as well be a war game. And so we'll get Rob back on. Sorry he couldn't make it this time. Let's talk about a couple of things, and then we will get, me and Dave got a game later on, so we'll work on that. If you guys have any comments, any questions for Rob next time he shows up, leave those in the chat. If you have any questions for me and Dave, leave those in the chat. I hope you all saw the Dungeons and Dragons article on Mirror, the Dungeon Master's Guide 2024 cover. And this came out today, 50th anniversary book. They're towing the party line that it's not 5.5. Open this new tab. Let's share that tab instead. There we go. Okay, so what do you think of that cover there, Dave?
I'm knocked out. That cover is just amazing. I love it. This could be the best yet for 5th edition covers.
Right.
So.
Someone commented that they're going really hard into the cartoon characters, and I thought the cartoon was dumb when I was a kid. I didn't enjoy it, didn't care about it. Maybe I was a little too old for it. I was maybe in my teens when it came out. But I don't mind the characters showing up now. It doesn't bother me as long as they're like giving them more of an adult look, like Venger does here.
Yeah, I was a teenager when the cartoon came out, and there was definitely not something that I could connect with at the time. But
right.
I know a whole generation of gamers grew up loving the cartoon, and that's awesome.
Yeah. So you got Warduke, I think it is, Skyla, I think it is. And those two were both in Wild Beyond the Witchlight, made an appearance there. And got a Draco Lich in the background behind Venger. Bunch of skeletons in the foreground. And then the back, I think I like even more than the front. It just has a real feel of adventure, a real feel of exploration. You're going to some just larger than life statues here. You can see the characters are tiny there climbing the stairs. And you got these statues of mind flayers levitating off the ground. You can see the mind flayers' feet just off the ground there. Some adventuring stuff in the foreground here with a chest to open. Looks really good. And we get a little sneak peek of what's inside. So the pre-built, customizable D&D world, we know that's Greyhawk. Tricks for creating memorable adventures, hundreds of magic items, rules for player-controlled strongholds. So the bastions will be in the DMG, it looks like. ready to use maps and handouts, tips for keeping your players happy and on the edge of their seats. So hopefully they talk about immersion a lot.
I think they're going to steer towards more of a tutorial for
Mhm.
DMs and that sort of approach, as opposed to the original 2014 DMG, which definitely leaned into a reference for dungeon masters who already had a good handle on how to run a game.
I think that's a good take. I think they've indicated they've trying to reorganize stuff that way, right? So
Yes.
you can come to it as a brand new dungeon master. That's what it should bring, a brand new person in and help them become better and better at the art. That's for sure. And then let's look at the rest of the article here. So Tyler Jacobson is the artist here who did the player's handbook that we saw already. He did the 2014 versions of these books. Josh Herman is the head of art at D&D for Wizards. And he says the cover is all about villains, showing the amazing toolkit the DMs get to play with. Multiple layers of villains and monsters for the cover. You got the skeletons up front. You got Skyla and Warduke in the middle. You got Venger up on top there. Then behind them all, a Dracolich. And that Dracolich is big.
You were talking about that last cover. From the little bit of art we've seen, there's definitely a direction for kind of conveying the, I've said this before, kind of conveying the thrill of adventure, putting you as a witness to it rather than showing characters necessarily striking a pose
Mm-hmm.
and kind of coming at the camera. And I like that different direction. That's something we saw in the original D&D books, and it's sometimes straight away in the art direction. There's definitely a place for both styles and both sorts of directions.
If you've joined us looking for Rob, he couldn't make it. We had some technical difficulties. And so looking forward to that. Um, Looking forward to hearing how Mordenkainen fared in Mordenkainen's Fantastic Adventure. Here's Mara Castle that they redid in Dungeon Magazine 112. Eric Mona, I think, did all the work on that. And then uh, Rob was also involved in the Greyhawk supplement for the original Dungeons and Dragons, the Gods, Demigods, and Heroes. You can see behind me is Deities and Demigods, and he had some input on that as well. So looking forward to getting him back. And of course, he had the famous Robilar on the Green Dragons, the first fighter, and that scored. And I forget that character's name. And that chariot, I found out today, is named after one of their friends who played the first druid in D&D. A chariot spell. Okay, back to the DMG. So on the back cover, it's got an ancient mind flayer temple with an adventuring party in the distance exploring the huge dungeon. A scene that would show that sometimes D&D is about exploration, but also wanted to add a bit of mystery and storytelling with some of the things in the foreground and background. Yeah, I think that's really nice. All right. Well, I didn't have anything else, Dave. Anything else you want to share?
Nothing else from me. I'm excited. I'm hoping we're get a chance to talk to Rob,
I
because
know that'll be huge.
there
I mean,
there are few people who remain with us still who are witnesses to the very beginning of the hobby,
mhm,
and Rob had a seat at the table when Dave Arneson demoed his Blackmore campaign to Gary Gygax, and the whole D&D world had its big bang. So
yeah,
that's super exciting.
I could do an hours talking to him about history, hours talking to him about his characters, hours talking to him about Gary's characters, hours talking about game design.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And you were showing that book, one of a book or a pamphlet he's done before that I'm eager to get is Dave Arneson's True Genius, it's titled.
yeah,
A lot of those early figures, they kind of fit into Team Dave or Team Gary. So I've always been surprised and impressed that Rob wrote a book praising Dave Arneson's hobby in Dave Arneson's role in the original hobby, because that shows that he's got an appreciation for both of the creators of the game.
This is definitely my next purchase. And he mentioned in his fourth category book that he gave us, um, when Dave presented the game to them, and maybe all the time while Dave was playing, he had ways to get immersion that they learned from him that they carry on. They named it after him. And so
Mm,
I want to find out what that was and how he did that stuff. So
I love it.
yeah, I'm getting that book. I'm reading that book. We'll get Rob back on if we can.
Wonderful.
All right, guys. That's it. We'll see y'all later.
Bye, folks.